Welcome back to the Digital Village, a Genfinity Cyber Academy podcast where we help parents, educators, and youth serving organizations prepare students for a safer, smarter digital future. Because it takes a village to raise digital citizens. I'm your host, Deshawn Edwards, your village guide, and today I want to talk to you about something that a lot of parents and teachers and youth leaders think about all the time: screen time. Screen time is important because screens are everywhere. Screens are at home, they're at school, they're in the car. They look at screens when they're doing their homework. They look at screens in their free time, and even or especially when they're trying to relax. And because screens are everywhere, it definitely makes sense for adults to ask, how much is too much? So today I want to take the conversation a step further because screen time definitely matters. But screen time by itself does not tell the entire story. If we only focus on how long students are looking at the screen, we might actually miss what's happening while they are there. Are they learning something or creating something while they're on the screen? Or are they talking to people? And are they talking to people that they actually know? Or are they being pulled into something unhealthy? Are they using technology with purpose? Or are they doom scrolling? Or as they say, brain rot? Are they just scrolling because the screen is literally in front of them? So that's what I want us to talk about: the difference between screen time and screen safety. Because we don't just want to count the minutes that they're looking at the screen. The goal is to help students understand technology and use wisdom, purpose, and safety while they're using technology. And as always, that is the village at work. Now, I'll say this up front. This episode is not to make anyone feel guilty. Whatever we talk about or whatever I say in this episode is not the gospel. Everyone has their own form of teaching and form of parenting. So this is not a you let your student or your child be on the screen way too much. That's not what this is about. It's not about making teachers feel like they're supposed to solve every technology issue in the classroom either. And it's also not about pretending that removing the screens completely is a solution, because we're not going to pretend that students aren't growing up in a world where screens aren't everywhere. That's not realistic. It's part of the world today. Technology is part of their world. I mean, it's a part of our world too. So the question isn't how do I remove every single screen? It should be, how do we help students build a healthy relationship with this technology that they're using pretty much on a daily basis? An hour of screen time can look very different. It really just depends on what that student is doing, because one student might be watching random videos back to back, and these random videos can be all of 15 seconds. You know how many 15-second videos you can watch in an hour? Another student might be learning how to edit music, and another could be learning about their school project or researching how to design a game. Those are not the same things. Right? So if we only measure the amount of time that a student is looking at a screen, we miss the quality of the experience. The screen time tells us how long, but screen safety and understanding what the student is doing while looking at the screen help us understand what's happening during that time. Students, I think, should find a nice balance and care about both, right? We also have to be careful about making technology the bad guy or the villain, because when we make screens sound like the enemy, students can start to feel like the digital part of their lives are something that they need to hide, or that they'll do, sneak around and look at the screen when no one's looking, or just try and do it behind your back. And that doesn't help build trust whatsoever. So does technology come with real concerns? Yes. There are distractions, there are scams, there are unhealthy places, there's pressure, compromise, cyberbullying, and the list goes, on and on. But we have to be honest about the risk for sure. But we also have to make sure that we're not just talking about the risk, but the actual opportunity that comes with technology, because it can help students. It helps us communicate. It helps me share this information with you. Right? You're listening to this on some application or some app on your phone, and technology exists, and I'm able to do it because of technology. So that's why this conversation isn't about yes or no. It's about balance. It's about making them feel confident and aware and understanding where screen safety comes into play. Now, I'm saying screen safety, but you're probably thinking, what is that? Like, what is screen safety? Is that digital safety? Is that cybersecurity? When I'm saying screen safety, I'm really talking about the habits that students build when they are using technology, when they're looking at screens, right? Those things like permissions or understanding privacy or understanding what personally identifiable information is and how they shouldn't share things like that, right? Do they know how to talk to an adult when a conversation online starts to feel uncomfortable? When they're posting something, do they understand that what they're posting is being put on the internet and literally everyone can, almost everyone can see it? And also, do they know when it's time to give the screens a break and stop looking at the screens, right? So the conversation is a lot bigger than you have been on that screen too long, right? It's how are you utilizing the time spent on the screen? So I don't want you to think that I'm saying that students don't need boundaries, because they do. It's important to put those things in place and say, all right, you have been looking at this screen, whether or not you've been doing something like, you know, productive, looking at work or getting an assignment done. There is a limit to how much someone should look at a screen. It starts to get into the realm of unhealthy if you're just staring at a screen for too long. I mean, that even goes into my work, right? When I'm sitting at my desk, I decide to stand up and not look at the screen for a time, because staring at the screen for 9 hours is, yeah, it doesn't do the body good. So limits definitely matter. They have to go to sleep. They have to move around. Students, I'm talking, they have to move around. They have to, get sleep. They need time away from the device. They need time from the blue light, right? To put the screen down, to just give their brain and their eyes a rest, right? But limits and boundaries have to come with some kind of guidance, not a do what I say because this is what I want you to do. Helping a student and a child understand the why, right, will give them more independence and it'll give them more freedom, right? Because they can then understand, and it's not just being told what to do, but it's also agency and saying, this is what I want for myself as well. Because as they get older, they're going to get more freedom and they're going to get more independence. So it'll get to a point to where they don't necessarily just if this person told me to do this, I'm going to immediately do it with no explanation. They learn agency. So if you teach and have the conversations about the importance of screen time or utilizing technology in a good way, once they do get that freedom, they will be able to make the decisions on their own. And if you give the recommendation, they'll be more susceptible to taking your advice rather than trying to hide it from you. So, like I always break down these episodes for parents, I think the biggest shift is to not argue about screen time, but have conversations and talk to your students about what they're doing when they are looking at the screen or utilizing this technology. And something else you could do is create maybe like a family screen rhythm. Those aren't rules per se, but it's more like a rhythm of understanding the proper time and place that technology can be used. All right, because there are times when screens are useful, and then there should be times where they need to be put away. Now, this again is less of a specific and hard-coded rule, but it kind of creates consistency. It's probably not healthy to be on the screen at 2 o'clock in the morning, but if it's right after dinner and the students are completing homework, that might be a proper time to allow the students to use the screen while having the conversation of how are you utilizing this screen time right now? Are you scrolling? Are you learning something? Are you using this to help with your homework? Are you using this to help with a project? Because if you aren't intentional about where the screen time goes, they can easily get distracted, right? They have parental settings on laptops and computers, but again, Our students are very intelligent, they're very smart, and what they can do is find ways around that. So we don't want to create rules that the student or the child just has to find a way around in order to get what they want. The goal is to have that conversation so that the student is making their own decision to say, I want to use technology to help me with my project. I want to use technology to help me with this assignment. And I know that during this time that I have to do my homework, I'm going to utilize it in the most beneficial way as possible. And for teachers, it's going to be a little different because a lot of times technology is part of the learning environment. It's less you are creating a rhythm of screen time, and depending on the type of the course you're teaching or the subject you're teaching, screen time might just be the entire hour or hour and a half that you are instructing, if not the entire, a big part of it. So that's why it's really important to make sure that the students in your class remain on task. And if there are ways for you to incorporate bounds on the tablet or on the computer, that could be, your first line of defense. If you're wanting the students to work on a specific app, then use the technology within the app to make sure that they don't navigate away from it, right? But then same conversation, the same advice, make sure that you're also talking to the students about what they're using the technology for, how they're utilizing it. Because just saying no screens, it could be detrimental. I know now a lot of the conversation is surrounding the removal of screens inside of the classroom. But I think that comes from a reality in where screens have not been utilized properly, and that the outcome was not expected. The outcome of students not learning at the rate in which they expected to learn because of this new technology. So I think that if we ensure that students are understanding how this technology can be beneficial to their education, rather than just saying no screens whatsoever. This goes back to my conversation from a previous episode where I was talking about calculators, or it might have been this one, but that's going to be the big difference, right? Making sure that students are aware of how they can use screens and how they can shift from not just using a subject of screen time as an indicator, but it's how they're utilizing that screen time. One of my favorite shifts for both classrooms and at home is to help students become creators. I say this word a lot on my podcast, or I say this phrase a lot, and that's human in the loop. Human in the loop basically means utilizing technology, or in a lot of cases, artificial intelligence, while a human is at the helm. So agency, autonomy, freedom, technology and artificial intelligence and screen time can sometimes, I'll even say the algorithm can sometimes persuade or navigate our students away from the assignment that they're working on, or whatever they're supposed to be focused on. But that human factor should exist to say, I want to be focused. I'm going to redirect myself to be on task, right? And I want to focus and I want to redirect because I want to create. I want to become a creator and not just consume what everyone else is putting on the internet or putting on social media. So that is something that you can have as far as a conversation for your students, asking them, do you want to be a consumer or do you want to be a creator? So the next thing I do want to talk about is screen safety. We can't really talk about screen safety without talking about interaction, right? Because one of the biggest concerns is not just a student looking at the screen and getting distracted, but it's also a student looking at the screen and getting distracted by another person who is on the other end of that screen. You have online games, messages or messaging apps, group chats, social media, live streaming, all this stuff connects us in a very great way, but it's also a place where students can find themselves in confusing or unhealthy or even unsafe situations. This is why students need to understand, like, while they're utilizing that screen time, they need to know who to talk to and how to bring up this conversation with an adult when something does feel off. So this is where that trust factor comes in. If you are leading with don't or no or you cannot use, or instead of the conversation of let me know if something does happen, I want you to be able to utilize technology, but please let me know if you feel uncomfortable. That's the shift in the conversation, not creating the blockade that just prevents them from feeling like they can come to you when something does feel uncomfortable or feeling like they can't trust you. Instead, it's starting the narrative and the conversation of openness and explaining to them the importance of digital safety and digital citizenship. Ultimately, the relationship is what needs to come first, right? And if you've been listening to this podcast, then you know one of the phrases that we use is pause, think, and act. And it fits perfectly right here because you have to pause before you react to what you see online. If someone is sending you an IM, or if someone is asking you to, join their chat room, or just pause. Pause and ask yourself, do I know this person? Is this someone that I should know? Is this someone that goes to my school? How did this person find me? Those are the conversations, again, that you can have with a student, just to make sure that they have the tools and they feel empowered and they have the resources to be able to react and handle a situation like that. Again, we don't want that immediate reaction. We want them to pause and think about it prior to acting. So if we bring all of it together, the big idea and the big takeaway is that screen time does matter. It gives us a idea of how long a student is, looking at technology, but more importantly, screen safety is what gives us the more full picture. Time tells us how long. Safety helps us understand how they are doing and how they are doing what they're doing while they are online. Are they learning? Are they creating? Are they connecting in healthy ways? That should be the conversation, because they don't just need limits. They can't just exist in a world where this is what you can and can't do, no questions asked. That should be the end of it. They need guidance, right? They need wisdom. They need trusted adults. They need teachers. They need mentors. They need parents to work together. And that's how I think students are going to hear a stronger message. The stronger message being that technology is not something they should be afraid of. It's something that they need to use with care, something that they need to use with purpose. So before we close, I want to give you today's Village Challenge. This week, have a screen safety conversation with your child or with a student. Not a screen time argument, not I'm telling you this is how long that you have to be on your tablet and that's it, but a screen conversation. And a question you can use is, when you are online, what are some of the things that you look up? And if you want to dig deeper, you can say, what makes you feel safe while you're in these chat rooms? Is it you talking to or gaming with a friend that you've met in real life? What makes you feel uncomfortable? Have you ever felt uncomfortable while you're online? And then just listen and see what they say. See how that conversation can open the door to a much better conversation. And, you can learn more about how your student sees screen safety. When students feel like they can talk to us, we can be in a better position to guide them and to mentor them. And trust just continues to build on top of itself. So I want to say thank you, and I appreciate you for joining this episode of the Digital Village. If this episode helped you think differently about screen time and screen safety, then I want you to share it with someone who cares about preparing students for the digital world. I'm Deshawn Edwards, your village guide, and this is the Digital Village, a Ginfinity Cyber Academy podcast. Remember, screen time tells us how long a student is online, but screen safety helps us understand how they're doing and what they're doing and how they're utilizing it while they're there. Remember, it takes a village to raise digital citizens. I will catch you all in the next one. Thank you.